quite a lot of games so far, but which one's your all-time favorite?
Super Metroid.
Right, but what would you say about like 10 years ago?
Super Metroid.
15?
Super Metroid. Though I might have said Metal Gear Solid or Link to the Past, depending on my mood.
Okay, fine. How far back do we have to go before you played Super Metroid?
20-ish years?
Good lord.
I distinctly recall performing this mental exercise debating my favorite video game back then. I take this unnecessarily seriously.
No kidding.
And the answer may surprise you.
Unless you read the title of the episode, right?
Yes, because it wasn't just Yoshi's Island. It was Yoshi's Island for the GBA, the only system I had that could even play it at the time.
As opposed to this thing, right?
Yes, but is that real?
Is what real?
Wait, what happened?
To what? You're going senile, Grandpa.
The unabridged full title of my favorite childhood video game was, quote, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3.
That's a title?
Though the original was released on the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy Advance version cleaned up loads of little graphical and audio quirks, as well as added many new tweaks to the mechanics and gameplay, including 6 new unlockable stages.
Isn't it wild the hardware in this thing was more powerful than this thing?
I knew it! Where'd you get that?
Get what? Did you touch Fuzzy or something?
I am perfectly safe!
Don't touch Fuzzy, kids.
Yoshi's Island may be called Super Mario World 2, but it's very much its own beautiful thing. Both games are 2D platformers with the goal of making it to the end of each level, and each have Mario in them. That's where the similarities end. The first map in Super Mario World was called Yoshi's Island, so I interpreted this game as happening in the same place, but in the past where the Mario Brothers were infants. And that brings us to the main gimmick. Yoshi must safely deliver baby Mario to the next Yoshi in waiting at the goal ring in a Pony Express system to begin the next level. Outside of spikes, lava, or other one-hit kill traps, Yoshi is invincible. Instead of taking damage, he drops baby Mario, floating away in a bubble, and has to catch him quickly before he is snagged by Comex's toadies. The genius part is the timer that appears when you drop baby Mario is effectively your health, and will count back up to a maximum of 10 after rescuing Mario. So not only is this a revolutionary new concept for a health system, you can even raise this timer all the way to 30 by collecting stars and keeping Mario safe in every level. Yoshi is not Mario, so he's packing loads of extra abilities like flutter jumping, ground pounding, and eating his enemies with his long sticky tongue and turning them into eggs, which can then be chucked at with an aiming reticle anywhere on screen, clocking enemies, destroying hazards, and activating secrets. So you're pretty much an invincible powerhouse, protecting baby Mario in a huge game of keep away, but drop him for too long and his cries will catch the toadie's attention. Touch and catch him by any means, including your tongue, in order to save him. If that sounds too easy, well, some of the later worlds would like to say hello, but that's not all there is to the gameplay. You see, after you hit the goal ring, you'll be given a score directly based on how many collectibles you snagged during that stage. Suddenly, the entire Mario format just got flipped on its head. This was never a thing before. Sure, we had Dragon Coins in World, but those just increased your already kind of meaningless score total. In Yoshi's Island, each stage will permanently display your best scores, turning every level into a mini arcade scavenger hunt, locating all 5 flowers, 20 red coins, and ending with a max of 30 stars. Now, if you're not tantalized enough into replaying stages for better scores, you're at least incentivized to find as many flowers as possible, as the ending goal ring will spin like a roulette wheel once you cross it, and based on how many flowers you found, you will have that many chances to enter a bonus minigame for extra lives. There are so many creative encounters, enemies, and boss fights, and even transformations that the game seems to never run out of fresh ideas. As a successor to Mario World, it's a huge improvement in almost every regard, except the map isn't really a map anymore. Now you just kind of select levels from a list list of folders. But that aside, levels are bigger, more non-linear, more diverse, and more refined than in World. I can confidently say that not even Mario Wonder was as creative as Yoshi's Island, and we still haven't even gotten a satisfying follow-up to this game that was any more than fine. Woolly and Crafted Worlds were alright, but what were they smoking with Yoshi's story? Rolled leaves from the Super Happy Tree to make some Super Happy Blunts. I am still waiting on Super Mario World 3, and I haven't felt super happy since 1995! Where most games at the time looked like pixel barf, Yoshi's Island instead goes for a pastel hand-drawn aesthetic, where everything is cartoony and adorable. A tremendous amount of detail has gone into animating absolutely everything from the spinning island menus to the many one-off enemies and bosses you will encounter only once. If this game looks graphically better than the rest of the Super Nintendo library, that's because it's secretly packing a Super FX chip, allowing for extra processing power and basic 3D rendering. I was wondering when you'd notice. Anyway, this game is a non-stop visual treat. The backgrounds, the character sprites, the meticulous attention to detail, it all comes together like a brilliant work of art. I love how there's an order to all the colored Yoshis in each world. I love the storybook intro cinematic. I love the unique level sprites. I love the unnecessary details like the 3D animated butterflies in the foreground. I just love it! All of it! Most Super FX chip games opted for pre-N64 3D and kinda aged poorly as a result. But Yoshi's Island might just be the most advanced game for the console! That looks ridiculous. Here, just use this instead. You just had one of these?! All I'm saying is it looks more authentic than a box of Cheerios. You know General Mills ain't sponsoring this garbage. That's amazing! Oh, come on! Prepare for the most adorable origin story nobody asked for that still comes off as undeniably charming. The stork delivering the newborn twins Mario and Luigi gets attacked by Kamek, attempting to thwart a prophecy of these two babies one day destroying his king, baby Bowser. But the attack isn't a complete success. Kamek kidnaps Luigi, but Mario is dropped in the skirmish, falling all the way down to the beautiful Yoshi's Island, where he somehow doesn't die, and the Yoshis all decide to work together to reunite the two babies in spite of Kamek's intentions. Why they have to travel through the many treacherous lands and fortified castles along the way instead of just, walking around them is anybody's guess. But at least Yoshi isn't too chicken to go in castles this time. Every 4 stages you hit either a fort or a castle, each of which houses a boss that starts out as a regular enemy before getting transformed by Kamek's magic and warped into a huge monstrosity. Every single one of these amazing battles is a winner. They're all exciting, different, and fun to solve through combat. Eventually, you storm Kamek's keep and find baby Bowser in his padded nursery, who decides he wants to ride Yoshi all of a sudden and starts fighting you. And it's not until you defeat him that things start getting really crazy. Kamek is horrified by what you've done to his little master and does something drastic. He uses the same magic on baby Bowser that he'd used on all the other bosses. The room shakes as he grows to tremendous size. The castle is destroyed as Bowser rises from the rubble in the distance and starts stomping your way like Godzilla. The perspective of this fight shifts into 3D as Yoshi starts flinging huge eggs into the distance to land hits on Bowser as rocks and fire are hurled your way back in return. It's gotta be one of the coolest Bowser boss fights in the series, and it gets coupled with the best Bowser theme he's ever had. After destroying Bowser, Kamek retreats with the defeated baby Bowser into the night, and Yoshi finally saves the captured stork and baby Luigi, who are safely delivered to their parents across the Sea of Clouds, who we will never see again, as much as I want to see their mom and her goofy-looking SpongeBob pom-pom fingers return somehow. Their parents are obviously Link and Zelda. Nobody else in their right mind would hold newborn babies up over their head. Child Protective Services are just as imaginary as live childbirth in the Mushroom Kingdom. Alright, I've gone on about Koji Kondo being one of the greatest composers in history, but this is his best work. Yes, Yoshi's Island is Koji Kondo's magnum opus. I love that the GBA version added in all the adorable Yoshi sounds that we recognize today. They somehow made the game even cuter. Like, how'd they even do that? And I love how each world you clear adds a new instrument to the map theme, eventually coming together to make this triumphant piece encouraging you to keep going. And I love how touching a fuzzy not only warps the entire world around you into a dizzying drug trip, but it also shifts the music into a warbly, contorted retake on the original theme of that level that transitions perfectly. They're not even the same tempos anymore. I do not understand how this works so well, but it does. And I just love this game. I love this game. Everything about it. Okay, maybe not how spastically unmanageable Poochie is. Everything. Any more people see Yoshi's Island as the real first Yoshi game, blissfully ignorant to the mediocre puzzle games that came before, and not, as it was intended, a successor to Super Mario World. Yoshi for NES was best left forgotten anyway, though it's kind of amusing to go back and see why it was so disappointing. It was developed by none other than the industry clowns at Game Freak, long before Pokemon even existed. So let's just say there was nowhere to go but up. Now let me tell you that even with the mindset that Yoshi's Island was intended to be a sequel, and the fact that Super Mario World was already one of my favorite games, Yoshi's Island is so outrageously good that it might just be even better than World ever was. Those are some big words, but did you even play it on original hardware? I am not falling for this again. Okay, I know how weird you get with this system, just take it. It's kind of wrong that you haven't even owned one up till now anyway, you big weirdo. Not like you've got an old CRT component tube TV laying around to play it on anyway. The positive gamer in me had an absolute blast with Yoshi's Island, scoring it with a dazzling 10 out of 10. Somehow this sequel to one of the best games ever made is completely different, completely original, and completely worth playing on its own. The critical gamer in me had some initial doubts in asking, is Yoshi's Island really that good? Is it really on par with some of the greatest games ever made? Yes, Yoshi's Island is a work of art. Yoshi's Island is a masterpiece, and Yoshi's Island is an undeniable 10 out of 10. I feel like I'm surprised every single time we hit one of these reviews and it turns out to be another 10 out of 10 I was not expecting. But what do you think? Let us know how your positive and critical sides rate Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Advance 3, in the comments below. Maybe I'm just nostalgic. Maybe I'm love-struck over the Super Nintendo. Maybe I touched fuzzy. But if you think loving video games for any reason is a bad thing, maybe you touched fuzzy. 'Cause you're just playing with yourself. No, Mom, I do not have a problem. Yep, this entire video was probably just an excuse to talk about my new Super Nintendo. Kim got this for me because it was an early birthday gift, and I'm so happy. I love my wife so much. Look, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. I just kind of wanted to talk about, you know, Super Nintendo games even more. If you couldn't tell, I just, like, love this system irrationally. Yeah, so, anyway, I'm a happy camper right now. What do you guys think about Yoshi's Island? I'm trying to not, like, be nostalgia blind to this one. I didn't expect it to actually get 2 10s, but, like, when I sat down and thought of every little thing, like, there's, like, nothing wrong with this game. It's, like, perfect. But anyway, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more, and use the links in the description to nominate your own episode. And thank you to our Patreon members, Arrow, Aspen, Crystal, Sid, Genio, Laura, and Squad Fam. Next time I'm ripping on Rising. See you!